In the shadows of the mind where secrets hide, we dive into the dark where truth collides.
Forensic minds unravel the twisted thread. True crime tales from the living and the dead.
Why did they do it? To help, for love, in anger or insane? Who will remember them? Who is to blame? The victims deserve justice. The guilty should be until the end of time. Echoes of the past in every crime.
Okay, everybody. Good to see you. Wait a few more seconds.
Chair to the courtroom fight. We seek the reasons in the
Welcome, Kelly Atkins. I'm not glad that you had surgery, but I'm glad you made it to alive.
Buried deep in hearts gone cold. Stories of the broken waiting to be told. Why did they do it? To help, for love, in anger or insane? Who will remember them? Who is to blame? The victims deserve justice. The guilty should be until the end of time. Join the quest. Uncover the line.
Okay, let's get started. Gotta quiet all this music. Sorry about that. Well, I hope everybody is doing great on this fine. What is it? It's Monday, isn't it? Monday, 12/25. Yes, the Corey Richards trial continues. It's just so hard to cover a trial when you're working. I'm working a lot of hours right now, so it's just really hard. I do catch up with it every night, but it's hard to do a video every single day. So there are plenty of very fine YouTube creators that are covering the story. They're covering the testimony. I've obviously Peter Tragus is a favorite of mine, but there's a lot of them. I watch Emily D. Baker. I watch a lot of people. I ran across this clip of Courtney Clenney, and if you don't quite remember it, Courtney Clenney is the OnlyFans model. I think online she went by the name Courtney Taylor. And she killed her boyfriend allegedly. It did turn out, there's a video of it. Somebody that was she was in a high-rise building. Their apartment was in a high-rise building. Somebody that was in another high-rise building across the way, I suppose, saw all of the chaos that was unfolding, or maybe they just were always video recording Courtney because they recognized her as, I don't know if I'm going to say famous, infamous. She's infamous. She's the OnlyFans model. I think she also called herself, what else did she call herself? Oh, a fitness guru. She was a fitness guru. But basically, she's very beautiful. She took her clothes off for money and people were happy to pay. So both she and her husband, boyfriend, very attractive, part of the beautiful crowd. And they were also part of the domestic violence crowd. There was a long history of battery that was happening within this relationship. In Austin, Courtney is originally from Texas, but they were living in Austin, and the fighting between these two, Christian, I can never say his last name. I'm sorry. Obumseli is his name. So she and Christian Obumseli, they were fighting all the time. There are so many videos online of people that just see them walking down the sidewalk and they take a video because they're pushing and fighting and yelling and cussing. And they were just really, it was just a toxic relationship. So in Austin, one of the apartments that they were invited to move out. The apartment complex said, we can't keep doing this. The cops are here all the time. You guys are disrupting like just the peace around the neighborhood. You're just fighting everywhere all the time. Sometimes in your apartment, sometimes walking down the sidewalk, sometimes in the lobby. And they said, we need you to move. There's people here that are very disturbed by what is happening, and we're not going to do this. So they were asked to leave. There was another episode that we will get intimately familiar with, I believe, when the trial starts in April. But they were in Aspen, and there was video camera in the house, and they actually have a recording of her not just screaming and yelling, but also battering him. And I think that she hits him something like 24 times. Like it was crazy. It wasn't just a moment of frustration and then whap, she just pummeling him. And, look, can we be honest that reactive violence is a thing? Some people would call it self-defense. That if you're the target of someone hitting you over and over and over and over and over, you may act out and sort of push them back away from you, or take them by the shoulders and make them sit down and force them, to stay there. That is not the same thing as the aggressor who's just hitting because you didn't say something right or you didn't do something right. It is abuse, and they will try to make the argument. We'll look at Christian. He's such a physically powerful man. He's so big and he's so powerful, and she was not posing any kind of threat of danger to him, and he shouldn't have pushed her. He shouldn't have made her sit down. And I'm just like, no, just because someone's big and strong, do we really say to them, you just have to stand and take it because it's coming from a, frail little female? No, no. A crime is a crime, period. So, and she did, in fact, turn out to be quite dangerous, to the point that she actually even killed him. Allegedly, but it is on camera and she's admitted it. So, I'm pretty horrified by, I don't really know how to say this. I'm pretty horrified by the fact that Courtney Clenney is still in jail. She was denied bail for second-degree murder, okay? She was denied bail. But right now, here in Houston, Texas, we have a millionaire who, it appears, the case being made by the prosecution is that he pumped his wife, who had a doctorate degree in physical therapy. that he pumped his wife full of fentanyl and killed her. She was also choked. Her hyoid bone was broken while 2 toddlers were in the house, while his 2 children were home. She was also pregnant. And when she first died, he said, oh, I don't know what happened to her. She has a problem with pain pills, which was all a lie. None of that was true. And then I think it was about 2 weeks later, maybe it was 1 or 2 weeks later, they found out about the hyoid bone. They found out about how much fentanyl was in her body, and they were like, go arrest that SOB. The kids are with her mom and dad up in the Woodlands, and so he's waiting on his trial as well. So there's a lot of these cases where domestic violence is a pattern. It's been there for a long time. And then there's a culmination of death. And sometimes the person that dies is the aggressor in the domestic violence. Sometimes the person that dies is the victim of domestic violence, like Suzanne Morphew. And this is what horrifies me. Right now, today in Houston, Texas, we got a guy walking around free on bond, and he probably did the dirty deed, allegedly. Okay. You also have Barry Lee Morphew, or Bruce Lee. Barry, such a dumb name. You're such a fool. But he is walking around free in Colorado. 1st-degree murder, domestic violence. And yet you've got Courtney Clenney in Miami, Miami-Dade, and they're refusing bail to her. The thing that horrifies me about it, none of them should have bail, especially in the case of domestic violence, because we know that when there's domestic violence, there is very often obsession, right? There's very often obsession, and you worry about what is something bad going to happen to one of the witnesses. I wouldn't want this guy in Houston running around, his 2 children, her mom and dad, who were like my age, maybe a bit older. I wouldn't want that creepy guy walking around potentially having access to those kids. And yet, I don't know why we have to release the wealthy, attractive white dudes, right? We have to say, oh, he's trustworthy. No, there's none of it. They should all get the Courtney Clenney treatment, in my opinion. And, when the charge is murder, 1st or 2nd, I don't care. When the charge is murder, when there's a history of domestic violence, especially when there's big money, you have access to a lot of money, like Courtney, why are you letting them out? I have no idea why Barry Morphew's walking the streets. None. It is a mystery to me. So, okay, so there's that. I've had my soapbox moment. I have been heard. Okay. Mystic says, Jot, I could listen to you all day long. Speaking of domestic violence, I'm wondering if you have interest in addressing Dale and Dee Warner's case. I don't remember who that is. I'm sorry. Hey, Crime Time Grime. I hope I didn't scare you too much when the video started up. I could be an OnlyFans if people wanted to pay for a good laugh. Oh, come on. That's not true. That's not true. You're beautiful. Okay. So the title of today's, discussion is what's wrong with her, right? What in the world is wrong with Courtney Clenney? Do you know why I asked that question? If you know what I'm referring to, put a 1. What's wrong with Courtney Clenney, right? Okay. Let me get it pulled up for you so you can see it. Well, no, I was going to start with something else, but here we go. So this guy right here. Oh, the most horrible creep I think I've ever seen, ever. Bryce Rhodes is his name. Triple murder. I believe it was Louisville, Kentucky, 2018. I want you to look at his courtroom behavior and prepare to be horrified by a lot of different things here. The judge even horrified me, but pay close attention to his behavior.
We do a fair trial in Jefferson County, but then another part of it is, if we have a concern, what's the alternative? Because then if we might get into a situation.
Now, to be clear, he's blowing kisses, making obscene gestures with his mouth at the mother of one of his murder victims. Well, look at it again, because what we're going to be talking about is what's the motivation beneath this. We're going to try to understand Courtney Clenney's behavior by looking at some other clips, and then I'll get into the whole psychological explanation for her behavior. But I want to have this comparison to these other people that are doing it for a different reason, if you will. So watch him again. We're going to be talking about why did he do it.
Can we do a fair trial in Jefferson County? But then another part of it is, if we have a concern, what's the alternative? Because then if we might get into.
And I love that his attorney jumped on him and ate his ass out, but watch his reaction.
Situation on the wall where I'm supposed to weigh the.
He's like, nothing. You mean nothing. I don't care what you say. Nothing. You're not anything. It's just wipe it off, shake it off. This is a true antisocial monster.
Ma'am.
Look at me,
Ma'am.
He keeps tiring.
Ma'am, I told you once before. Let me please help you understand.
This judge, I would give him a piece of my mind and tell him to get his priorities straight. This pissed just made me furious.
You can't just talk out like that, okay?
That is the mother of a dead daughter that he killed.
You can't handle him looking at you respectfully. All I can tell you to do is don't be in my courtroom, because he's going to keep doing it, particularly now that he knows that it irritates you. So you either are able to control yourself or you're not. And I would understand why you could not. I get that completely.
You don't act like you did it, buddy.
Talking up in court, okay? The next, I need you to hear
and
this.
The prosecutor's
the next time
like,
it happens, there will be a consequence. You understand that?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Rhodes, you're smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well,
Because I can. It's not a crime to smell.
it's not a crime.
Continue what you were saying.
But it doesn't help you, all right, to irritate people.
All right.
And you have a lot at stake in this case.
It's not a crime to smell.
He's antisocial, right? He's antisocial in the purest sense of the word, and he is taking back control. Now, it's an illusion. It's not real. He feels that pressure that he is simply an observer in these proceedings, and he has exactly zero power. And yet, you can see him in the process taking control. He took control away from the mother of that girl. He took control away from the stupid judge. The judge yells at a crime victim, but then he gets into a debate with this antisocial piece of dog excrement. You know what I mean? So, judge, don't do that. It's your courtroom. You're in control. You don't have to have an exchange with this dude. Muffle his mouth. Send him out of the courtroom. He didn't have to be there for this part of it. Now, I couldn't believe this judge. He really made some bad choices. Okay, so we can clearly see here a guy who is without remorse. Like there's not even the slightest little bit of remorse here. He is, I would say, his behavior is exactly what you see with people that have been diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, people that are high in psychopathy. He doesn't care. He knows that he's going he knows that he's going to prison and he may get the death penalty. The arrogance that you're seeing is feigned. Or it's not feigned. He doesn't care enough, right? He just says, I can do what I want to do. I don't have to conform with society's expectations, not in the least. And I'm better than you guys. You're all weak. You're all here for me. We're looking at a courtroom and we're thinking, ooh, you terrible person, you're going to get what's coming to you. But from his perspective, he's the star of the show. He's feeling great. Life is good. He did what he wanted to do. He embraced his anger, and now he's a star of the show. We have another clip of someone else who is star of the show. Let me get it pulled up for you. Oh, yeah, there she is. We know who. Oh, Hori Vallow Daybell, right? All right, let's listen and see this. She turned around and winked at Kay as she was leaving. This was it. This was it. It was over. She had been sentenced. She was gone forever. No more trials with Hori Daybell. See her grinning at all of the people that did witness impact statements. They're all sitting over in the jury pool, and she looks over at them and smiles. She's leaving forever. This is it. It's done now. It's over. She turns and looks at them and smiles. She's taunting them, which is what I think that's the reason that Kay spoke out. And I 100% support that she did speak out. And you know what, Kay, you should have said worse. I think you were dead on. But watch the arrogance in this woman. Literally winks at this woman who has lost so much. JJ, Tylee, her brother Charles, and she was very close with Charles. Arrogant, evil, whatever word you want to use. And again, you can see zero remorse. No remorse whatsoever. Pure arrogance and just total lack of empathy. There's nothing in this woman that she looks at all of this destruction and devastation that she created and feels nothing, not even for her own flesh and blood. She has absolutely no sense of responsibility, care. She has nothing for Colby. She has nothing for anyone. The only person that she cares about, I guess, is probably herself. And I think Chad was her tool that was going to get her the infamy, the power, the control that her dad always told her that she was going to get. Right? So here's another example. Courtroom behavior that is so far outside of what the norm, the expectations, what attorneys coach their clients to do. And it is so easy to see the lack of empathy, no remorse, the arrogance that is associated with it. All right, so that one's finished as well. Screen is frozen. Well, damn. Why is the screen frozen? If you can hear me, put a 1, please. Okay, I switched over to a different network. Let's see if that works. Can you see it? If you see it, put a 1. Hey, Martin. Okay. So now you see, okay, well, I changed to a different, okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Took a little time.
We can't do that. Let's help everyone out now.
So right there, you can see her look over where all of the people that gave their victim impact statements, they're all sitting over where the jury had sat, right? And so as she's collecting all of her books and stuff, because she's finished now, it's done, it's over with. She looks over at them and she smiles at them. It's my, I'm just guessing that's probably what prompted Kay's outburst. I wouldn't call it an outburst, her statement, her communication to Lori. It's like Lori looked at them and smiled like, me, boo-boo, you didn't upset me. I'm still beautiful. I'm still Lori, and I'm not upset by any of you losers. I mean, that's the childish kind of 13-year-old mentality that Lori has. And so looking at all of her victims and smiling was par for the course. And I do think that is what prompted Kay and her comment to Lori. But then the shock is what she does after Kay says, rotten prison, Lori.
Lori, rotten prison.
Here we
can't do that. Let's help everyone out now.
Woman. Hater, look at her grin. But she smiles at all the victims.
Lori, rotten prison.
There's the wink. It's just horrifying. It's unforgivable, right? And then the message is, she's taunting. Same way as Bryce, the creepazoid that I just showed you that was, making terrible mouth noise signs toward the victim's mother. It's taunting. It's saying, you've taken nothing from me. I'm still in control. You mean nothing to me. I'm not going to think about you. I'm not going to worry about you. And I don't care what I did to JJ and Tylee. I don't care. I did what I wanted to do and I'd do it again. That's what's happening right here. Right? You can look at that expression on her face right there and you can see, sizzling hate. Right? Hate. She may be smiling. She may be winking. It is a message that says, you can't touch me. You didn't upset me. I don't care if I have to go to prison. It doesn't matter. She even felt that way about Colby, her one and only remaining child. This is a cold fish of a human being, just like Bryce, the dude I just showed you before. Okay. So there's the inappropriate courtroom behavior, winking, smiling, kind of, we've seen her before where she'd walk into the courtroom and flip her hair back. Remember that? I'm telling you, this woman had some kind of trauma at around 13 years old, and she has been stuck at 13 years old the next 30 years of her life. Up here, she's a child. All right. Now then. Sorry that I was having trouble with the connection. Laying back on a hammock and listening. Well, that is a great thing to do, Mystic Firefly. Lori didn't care about the kids. Oh, no. They were in her way. They were blocking her path to greatness, Crime Time. She just wanted to be infamous. That's all. She just wanted power. That's all she cared about. And that's what she perceived in her very inept, immature mind by turning around and winking at Kay or smiling at all of the victims. She is like a little kid. She's saying, "I don't care. Spank me again." And that is that behavior, right? Okay. So now we're not going to do, I had another guy to look at his behavior. I don't want to. These people are just so disgusting. But now we're going to watch who? We're going to watch Miss Sassy, Courtney Clenney. All right. And it's wild. Like she is a psychopath, Martin. Yeah. And not only is Lori Vallow a psychopath, I do think she's probably sadistic as well. I think when they were doing these terrible things to people, I think she got such a charge of excitement. I think she felt so good with feeling power. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Okay. I thought you said you can't hear, but you do hear. Okay. So now let's take a peek at the lovely Miss Clenney, or Courtney Taylor, as her online name is. This was about 2 weeks ago. Okay. And they're having pretrial hearings and whatnot, and they're gearing up for the trial that is coming in April. Okay. Let's watch Miss Clenney in action as her attorney is, I don't know, maybe they're waiting for the judge to do something, but the attorney starts looking at her phone. She looks like she's reading some stuff. Let's see what Courtney does. Now, it's my opinion that you see how far into this we are. Okay, you see where it's at? I do. I watched it from the beginning, and there's quite a long period of time where she's just bored. Like she's just waiting, and she's looking at her fingers, and she's digging at her fingers. She's picking her hair up and inspecting her hair. She's just bored. She's trying to look over at the phone of her attorney to read whatever it is that the attorney is reading. And this is where something changes. This part right here. She's now become aware of something, right? She changes the position in her chair, and then she adopts this more like photographic kind of, oh, look at me, right? So she's aware now. There's someone out there in the gallery that is watching her. All right, so let's see what effect that has on her. She says, let me think about this. But she's posing. Can you see her posed? Like before, let me go back to where she was before. See how she's sort of slumped down, and even her stomach, she's not like holding her stomach tight, right? She's kind of whatever. Let me dig on my fingernails a little bit, but watch when she realizes someone is watching her. Oh, wait a minute. Me? Are you looking at me? Yeah. Okay. Well, let me look. I can be cute. Yeah, look. All right, you want a picture of me? Okay, here we go. Let me get fixed so you can get a nice photograph. Holding my stomach in, sticking my boobs out. There we go. What a beautiful, beautiful shot. Work the camera, baby. It's so clear that she's like, somebody wants a photograph of me. What's going on? Is he still interested in me? I just want another picture. I don't know. Let me give it some thought. What I could do. Going, yeah, I definitely think she's looking at me. Oh, I really missed the camera. Okay, she's saying, okay, I'm gonna have to be on the down low because you're not supposed to be taking photographs in the courtroom, right? But this chick, she saw a camera and she was like, yeah, baby, I know the camera. I like it. So now we got another photographic worthy pose. Look at my long, straight, flat back, my waist. Let me get my hair, and in a minute, I'll turn to you and give you that beautiful photograph. She's thinking about it, but she don't want to get caught. See her get her hair. She fixed her hair. So silly. There we go, I think. Oh, there's the picture, Courtney. Good job. And the attorney's like, who's talking? I keep hearing somebody saying Courtney's name, I think. Who is that? But Courtney's being on the down low, right? She leaned forward, she got her hair fixed, and then she looked at her attorney to see if she's gonna pay attention. And when she wasn't paying attention, she went. Right? She got the picture in. Okay. This chick is in jail, going nowhere until she stands trial for second-degree murder, where there's a video of the fight and the murder. And this is what's got her attention. Oh, let me lick my lips. Let me hold on just a minute, dude. I'll make a good picture for you. Just a minute. Right? She's getting it all together. This fascinating to watch her devolve. Like, she goes from, I'm a murder suspect in a courtroom, facing life in prison. She devolves into, I'm a star. I'm a star. They love me. My fans love me, in about 3 seconds. Just keep watching. He's thinking, what can I do? How can I give him a good picture? When I get caught, is there a way to like be sexy? Oh yeah, there you go, girl. One picture. What are you saying? Huh? Let me look cute. I don't want the judge to catch me. My attorney's clueless. She's like, no, I don't want to get in trouble. Not done yet. Look at her. Just do it. She looked at him. She said, just do it. It's okay. If you want to take a picture, just do it. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Look how excited this chick is to be back in front of a camera. Never, ever underestimate the power of histrionic personality disorder. Okay. Look, the people with histrionic personality disorder, you just can't help but be amused. Now, look, I know who she is, and what she has done is heinous. Not only did she murder this really wonderful man by all description, all the reports by people that knew him and worked with him, this was a good person. Like, he was a good guy. I know that she is probably antisocial, right? Maybe not fully, but definitely some, elevation in psychopathy. Probably more likely the domestic violence, the acting out, it's probably more likely that it was more the result of just emotional distress. That when she would get upset, she would feel like she was somehow being threatened, that she acted out like a child having a temper tantrum, rather than what would be considered like controlling, torturous type of behavior. Doesn't make any of it right. In no way is it right. Domestic violence is domestic violence is domestic violence. And I don't care if you weigh 105 pounds or if you weigh 205 pounds. I don't care. You hit people because you're out of control. You've committed a heinous crime, in my opinion. One that, while she was having her little 5-year-old temper tantrum, she killed a man. And I don't think it was premeditated. I don't think it was something that she did, that she said, I need to kill him to get him out of my way so I can get more fame, like we saw with Lori, right? I think she was just like, he made me so mad and I am so sick of him. And she was just acting out like a little child. And she probably had full belief that his job was to be her dad, take care of her, put up with her emotional rantings. So this is something different. You know, it's horrible, it's awful, but it is something different that it's one of those cautionary tales. None of us are going to be like Corey Richards. None of us are going to plot and plan to take the life of a spouse because we need that money, or to plot and plan the death of our children and spouses because we want to be somehow, leader of a bunch of religious zealots. That is a different kind of monster than a little child, just a little child that said, I don't like what you did. Don't treat me that way. It's not fair. It's still a crime. She still needs to go to prison. And I have no doubt she will, because there's a video. But the histrionic narcissism it's fascinating to watch. To look at somebody in a full-grown body, and yet they're like 10 years old in their mind. She is in court. She is going to be standing trial for murder. And the minute a camera comes out and a male suitor, someone who's flirting with her, she can't resist it. Her identity needs it like you and I need the water we drink. She needs that attention. She needs to be seen. She needs to be admired. Unbelievable. Look at her. And that lawyer's like, you have got to be the dumbest person on the face of the planet to be behaving like this. The whole world is watching you, Courtney. Do you think you could act with a little bit of decorum? I was going to try to stop it at a good spot here. Let me find it so I can stop it. Then I'll continue with what I was talking about. It's amazing. Okay, so that's the Okay, so there she is, right? Who is this bag of weasels? Her name is Courtney Clenney. She's an OnlyFans model who murdered, second-degree murder of her boyfriend. There is a long history of domestic violence. She was the aggressor against Christian, I wish I could say his name, Christian Obumseli. And so her trial will be starting in April. So this clip was from about 2 weeks ago. Oh, she's putting on a show, Micro Blue. And so that's the point of the question. What is wrong with Courtney Clenney? Because her behavior is off the chart inappropriate and pretty, some people would say gutsy because of the setting, it being in a courtroom, correct? So I wanted to take a minute. So many people are so focused on wanting to say, oh, it's narcissism, it's narcissism. Everything is narcissism. And it's just simply not true. Now we do have the cluster B personality disorders. And so maybe it would all rest a bit easier if everybody just said, oh, that's cluster B behavior, instead of trying to get really specific about the individual personality disorder that it might be. But people's initial reaction is when you look at somebody that is being so dramatically performative, you just knee-jerk reaction to go to narcissistic personality disorder, right? And I think this is much more in line with what we call histrionic personality disorder. There's definitely narcissistic features, without a doubt, based on what you can see in her courtroom behavior and in all the videos of her online. Like, there's so much information to go and observe. And in no way can you make a diagnosis of a person unless you can complete a proper evaluation. But in this particular case, there is a great deal, a lot of data points online, lots of videos, conversations with friends and family. There's just so much to look at. And she does, you can't diagnose it, but I get the feeling it's more of like a histrionic personality problem than the, actual pure narcissistic PD that people want to naturally default to. Okay. So with histrionic personality disorder is characterized by excessive emotionality, attention seeking. I mean, come on, y'all. The Aspen video is nothing but emotion. And not only is she emotional in the negative sense, not only does she get really big sad and really big angry, she gets really big happy too. She is just extra all the way around. Whatever emotion she's having, that is center stage, and it is her reality until the next emotion pops off. Her reality is changing minute to minute, depending on who's around her and what's happening. It's really tragic. And you see it so easily in this video where she's sitting there, she's bored, she's checked out, she's about to go to trial. Her parents have been arrested. I mean, it has been this case is crazy. And as soon as there's some guy smiling and flirting and he gets a camera out, she turns it on. She can't help herself. Her eyes are sparkling. She feels so good to be the center of attention. She feels so good to have someone admiring her beauty. She feels so good thinking about, oh my gosh, there'll be a new story of me online and they're all going to be talking about me again. She lives for this. We have a lot of YouTube creators that are exactly like this. You know what I mean? But that doesn't mean they're murderers. And it doesn't even mean that Courtney would have been a murderer if she'd learned how to use her coping tools instead of acting out and lashing out in a temper tantrum, right? How many of you had little kids at home and they would have a temper tantrum and something would get broken? They don't mean to break it. They don't start out to break it. It's just that they're out of control and flailing about, and bad things happen when someone is out of control, right? So teaching our kids distress tolerance, teaching them how to sit easy with even negative emotions, that's part of being a parent. We got to do that, lest we end up with a histrionic personality disorder temper tantrum from a 30-year-old, right? So the one thing that characterizes the difference between histrionic and narcissistic, histrionic, they get very good at using their physical appearance, specifically even their sexuality, to draw attention. Yeah, that's what you just watched, right? She had to fix her hair. She had to do a little kiss. She had to suck her stomach in, hold her back straight. She's using sexuality. She's using her physical appearance to play up to this camera. She wanted more of it. And I think she probably really wanted to know that people online were going to be talking about her that evening. I think we saw the same thing from Lori. I think I do think she's MPD, but I also think she's heavy with symptoms of histrionic personality disorder. I mean, the way she interacted with Colby, in the case of Lori, you just can't separate the two. The narcissism and the histrionic, it just all goes together, right? So in terms of using the flirtatious, like being playful, being flirty in this really inappropriate setting where it's just weirdly outside of the behavior you normally see in a courtroom, especially one where murder is going to be discussed, that is what really screams histrionic to me. Most of us, even if we were playful and we were flirty by nature, and we loved all of that kind of, glamming up and getting, attention for your physical appearance, we would not think that a courtroom would be the place to do that, right? I mean, you look at Corey Richins, she shows up and she looks like, Handmaid's Tale. Got her hair severe pulled back in that severe bun. Her face is very flat. Although she does have some crazy expressions. So the fact that she's being playful, she's definitely being flirty, sticking her tongue out, blowing kisses in that courtroom setting screams histrionic to me. Screams histrionic. Now, narcissistic personality disorder, or people that have strong narcissistic traits, they also have a pathological need for attention and admiration. They blow that up, though, bigger than what their talents are. They'll lie to themselves. Like maybe Lori would take a few lingerie photographs and, post them on a private website, and 2 people sign up to look at them. She would say, "Oh, I'm an OnlyFans model. I'm a successful OnlyFans model." That would be narcissistic. But the fact that, Courtney is or was a successful OnlyFans model making millions of dollars. No, it's just the histrionic thing. She just loves it. She wants the attention. She's good at the attention. She's very shallow. She's also quite lovely, and it all came together. And so she's exploiting her beauty and her probably some like maybe some psychopathy. She's turning that into cash. She's using it, but I think she loves the camera. I think she likes the attention. And, you know, to be honest, that's probably been the most painful part of being jailed, is that she hasn't had any of that attention. The narcissist, it's much more clinical, and they are they're scary people. Their ability to lie to themselves and others is pretty shocking. Of course, they have zero empathy, none at all. The grandiosity is off the charts. They also they will look at a serious situation and use it to promote themselves, right? Which isn't exactly what we saw just here with Courtney. Yeah, she's in a serious situation, but she couldn't help herself. She saw the camera and she felt delight, which is a lot different than being Corey Richens and saying, oh, I don't want to give this impression that I'm, you know, wanted to be with Josh. And so I better play down my physical attributes. And I need to make sure that I try to cry, and I need to make sure that I'm aware the camera's on me, and use this to my advantage and see if I can get off these charges. So there's a different qualitative feel to it. I would agree that OnlyFans, that if you're I would really probably a creator of any sort, there is probably some performative elements to that person's personality. But it's a bit different that whether the person is performing because it feels good, they enjoy being the center of attention, compared to performing to see what they can get out of it, to exploit others. And look, I'm going to be the first one to say this, okay? And other people disagree with me, and I honor that. I'm not saying that I'm right and you're wrong, none of that. But I do think that for women, well, for men too, for people who turn their physical attributes into cash, they allow themselves to be exploited, if you will. I do think it takes a toll. I think, look, I'm not gonna lie, okay? I wish that I could get on the camera and make $1 million a year by all of this. Okay. I wish I could do that. It doesn't mean I would do it if I could, because there's a cost that comes with it. If you are beautiful, if you're blessed, with a great body and all those kinds of things, there's a market for that in this country or in the Western world. And there have been a lot of people that have been able to take their attributes and make a pile of cash with that, and then hopefully move on to something else. But for most people that fall into that lifestyle, it is very exploitative, and it really robs people of their self-respect. I've worked with a lot of people who may have been making money in pornography or stripping at a gentleman's club. There's always a cost, and they've said to me that the majority of the girls that are doing it, not all, but a majority of the girls that are doing it, there is a lot of drug use or alcohol use, because you do feel terrible. You do feel awful when you're, dancing half naked or fully naked, and you've got a bunch of, creepy dudes sitting around, staring at you. And they, it does take a real toll. And yet these are not bad people. These are not bad women. They'll tell you, I can't take care of my children unless I do this. There's literally nothing else that I can do by way of work that will make me the kind of money that I can provide my children the things that they want. So I'm not casting judgment on anyone who does this. But I am acknowledging it does come at a cost. It is very difficult for the women that do it, unless they're just loving it, unless they're having a great time. And, it does seem like, Courtney is very happy to be Courtney, right? Okay. There's also a possibility that she could be dealing with some antisocial personality traits. It is true that some, not all, not even a majority, but some people with ASPD, they have superficial charm. I think the main one that comes to mind is probably Bill Clinton. And don't get into tizzy. I voted for the guy both times. Okay. This isn't a political statement. He is so talented in the extra-personal space or intra-personal space, not his inner world, but that happens between him and the person he's talking to. He's masterful at putting people at ease and sort of molding and manipulating the situation to what he wants. And we saw that during the testimony, the Epstein stuff. For the most part, he was in his aw shucks, golly gee whiz persona. And then we saw him and that mask fell. We saw him look at one of the senators with hate. And it's kind of chilling to watch, because you've been sitting there watching him. He was playful. He was smiling and affectionate, very charming. And then, boom, somebody got to him. He said things that were inappropriate. His lawyer was furious with him. And you saw it. He looked at her like he wanted her finished. Arkansas-ed, right? So yes, antisocial, they do, sometimes they're incredibly charming, although you can't mistake that as being authentically charming, right? It's manipulative. I just get the feeling watching this clip with Courtney, she's just being reactive. She's being herself, and you can't help but sort of laugh, because you're like, dude, what are you doing? Wake up, Courtney. Pay attention to where you're at. Stop being a little girl, right? You just kind of have that moment. So there is a playful and affectionate tone to the behaviors of the histrionic. There's cold manipulation with the narcissist. And that's quite different between the two, even though they may be doing the same outward behavior. There's another possibility. I don't particularly buy into it, but maybe what you're just seeing is just stress. Maybe this is her way of sort of coping with the situation she's in, ignoring the gravity of the reality that she's living. Maybe she's in denial about why she's in the courtroom. Maybe she doesn't believe that anybody would ever send her to prison. I don't know. I really just believe she got caught up in the moment and was having fun. That's what I really believe. Yeah, but without a doubt, what we're certain of is that it was poor judgment, correct? It was definitely poor judgment. But was it defiant? Do you think she is acting in a defiant way, the way we saw Lori Vallow behave or the way we saw Bryce? Is she being defiant, or is she legitimately just sort of playing? Oh, and Jodi Arias. See, thank you for bringing that up, Mystic Firefly. Yeah, Jodi Arias. Great example. I wish I'd pulled that clip. Now I'm mad at myself. I should have thought about that. Jodi Arias made flirtatious gestures toward the jury, but did you have that same reaction? Did it feel like she was just sort of kind of caught up in the moment having fun and her natural personality was coming out? Or did you watch Jodi and go, wow, look how manipulative this chick is? There was nothing charming about Jodi Arias to me. She seemed to me to be clumsy. It was uncomfortable. She seemed cold and cruel. Nothing that would say, oh, look, she's just a little girl playing. No, I didn't have that. I think hers, even though she did the same thing, the flirtatious behaviors, I think it was 100% that narcissistic manipulation that we talk about. Yeah, she disgusts me, Mystic Firefly. She's a horrible creature, horrible animal. Okay, just ate a Granny Smith apple and handful of pistachios, calling that breakfast. Hey, that works for me, Mystic. Sounds like the breakfast of champions to me. All right. So what I want to do is I'm just going to kind of hit the high points now. If what we're seeing in this behavior where she just seems to lose control and pretend like she's sitting at a bar somewhere, here's the reasons why I think this is that histrionic personality disorder is probably better able to describe what she's doing than narcissistic PD. I think that we have enough evidence that she has a high level of emotionality, not just bad emotions, but also good emotions. She's very expressive, right? And you can see it right there in action. She is also attention seeking. A lot of times walking around Miami, she's walking around with almost zero clothes on. But there's a lot of people down there that, like the sun. She's also very theatrical, even in their arguments, really dramatic, like over the top drama, like something that you would see in a movie, not the real angst of a disagreement with a mate. Another thing about her is her discomfort when she is not the center of attention. And I do think we saw a little bit of that with Lori Vallow, but I think it was just, like narcissistic PD with histrionic features, right? As opposed to Corey, who just, if I'm just guessing, her behavior, it's consistent with people that have been diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder with some narcissistic features. It's exactly the opposite of what you see with Lori. One of the things about those big emotions, the excessive emotionality, is that she's also got very shallow emotions that are rapidly changing. She'll go from laughing and flirting with the police who are there because there's been a call for two people fighting. She'll be flirty with the cops, giggling and happy and laughing, and then she'll say something and say something about that what he did made her sad, and now she's crying. Now, how much of that is just being labile and crazy, and how much of that is performative? I think with this girl, it's very performative. I think she is well used to using her appearance, her sexuality, and her emotions to manipulate other people. I think that's how she survives in the world. She used flirtatious gestures in the courtroom. She was being provocative, but she was also playing. She was also like having a good time. And you can get you can sort of see that description of being overtly charming. Although in no way do I say this was appropriate. This was a horrible situation to be behaving this way. I think she saw the camera and it just got away from her before she realized what she was doing. And I don't know if she can control it. If she's really, really histrionic, she's not going to control it. As soon as the camera comes out, as soon as the guy is looking at her, she is going to be blowing kisses, tongue out. She's going to be bending over and sticking her butt in their face, but be like, what? I did not stick my butt. You're so bad. I can't believe you said that about me. Okay, that's the histrionic stuff. So yeah, very attention seeking, very performative. And yes, I also think that the fact that she is a very successful OnlyFans creator, that probably solidified her confidence in using her appearance and her seduction to get money from people. I think she cultivated her charm. She cultivated that manipulation, the girly manipulation, right? So, which is the fact that she's an OnlyFans model right there shows performative sexuality, audience engagement with the expressed goal to separate people from their money based on how she looks. There's also that history, well-documented history, of a volatile relationship where they were having these very public fights, loud, aggressive. She does a lot of hitting and he does a lot of consoling, like he's the parent dealing with a little child who's having a temper tantrum. I think this was the dynamics of their relationship, and he got away from her. Bad things happened. And sometimes people die, and it wasn't premeditated. It was just a cautionary tale. It was just wrong place, wrong time, wrong set of circumstances. She just went too far in her anger. She just went too far. So yeah, I do think she's the courtroom thing. I don't look at as defiant, antisocial. I think she was just enjoying having an admirer, you know. With narcissism, of course, you have we all know the diagnostics for narcissism: grandiosity, lack of empathy, a sense of entitlement, exploitative relationships. This is describing Corey Richens. Arrogant, fantasizing about unlimited success, power, and beauty. Those are things that are very suggestive or definitive about narcissistic personality distress. There is something about this, though, that I don't think you could just completely rule out narcissism. I think you would have to comment on that. If the diagnosis is histrionic personality disorder, you would follow up by saying with narcissistic features. And here's the feature, if you will. With narcissistic personality disorder, these people, when they get under stress, they become filled with rage, big rage, like the scary kind. And they have real denial about their culpability in anything. They didn't cause this. And we do get a lot of that from Corey Richens too. She None of this was her fault. In fact, she is even trying to blame Eric for a lot of the situation that she's in, which is wild, right? Because Eric is the victim here. So I don't think you completely abandon the idea of the very popular narcissistic personality disorder, but I do think being aware of that one description, under stress, people with narcissism show intense rage and unbelievable denial. That stands out just like a sore thumb. All right. Yeah. And I think that's now all of my notes. Borderline. I've seen people in chat say, "Oh, she's borderline. That's borderline personality disorder." No. It's better. The things that they're using to say things like borderline personality disorder is better explained by histrionic. There's no reason to believe that she was experiencing those stereotypical things to borderline, like fear of abandonment, identity disturbances. Her relationship with Christian was intense, and it seemed to be unstable, but they were together a long time. It wasn't like she was going through a lot of different relationships. So that kind of pushes against a bit the whole idea of borderline. Not that these things aren't there, but more like they're better explained by the histrionic and narcissistic. And then could definitely be some anti-personal stuff happening. Just elements, definitely not APSD or ASPD. Using your appearance, sexuality, knowingly trying to manipulate people to get money. Some people would say that does have a kind of an antisocial view of it, but I'm not sure I believe that. That would be like saying, like, if you're a talented football player and you're making money in the NFL, are you being antisocial? Are you exploiting people who want to come watch you play, so they're paying money to come to the football games? Is that exploitation, or is that just you're getting paid for your skills and talents, right? So I think women who are in the performing arts, if you will, maybe they get a bad rap. Maybe people are too judgmental. But look, dancing is dancing. If you're talented, if you're good at it, people like to watch it. If they're willing to pay for it, they're willing to pay for it. So what? I'm not going to interfere with that. So yeah. Oh, was I frozen? I got all of my winter sewing containers out there. Good. All right. There we go. So that's kind of the end of what I wanted to talk about today. My question to you guys is, so what do you think? Do you think it's histrionic? Do you think it is borderline? Do you think it's narcissism? How do you experience her playfulness? What do y'all think? Oh, good, Sketty Nona. I'm glad I didn't freeze where you live. What do y'all think? Histrionic, narcissism, borderline. And we're not diagnosing. You can't diagnose somebody without doing an actual evaluation. We're just having a discussion, getting to know the differences between these three similar type of diagnoses based on publicly available, behavior. She knew there was a camera rolling. All right. What do y'all think? Nobody has an opinion? We don't really have anything new on Dulance Morin. I looked just earlier this morning. They did do a public memorial for Maria Lewis, the mother of the 7 who died. They did do a memorial for her. I was going to show it, but they had her 12-year-old son in front of the camera, and I didn't want to play that. I want to give them, privacy. But so far we don't have any updated information on that investigation. I don't think there's any new information on the Nancy Guthrie disappearance either. Am I wrong about that? Let me think a minute. Would there need to be an MMPI done to help diagnose? Some people do use the MMPI or MCMI, Kelly. It's not necessary. The DSM guides those diagnoses. It's a rubric that you follow, and if you follow it exactly as written, then once you get to the end of that, you know whether you have a diagnosis or not. Believe it or not, there have been a lot of people that have taken, let's say, Donald Trump. They've taken Donald Trump, the DSM, and they've actually gone through it and made a diagnosis. His own niece did that. His niece is a clinical psychologist, and she has made very public proclamations about the diagnosis that she believes would be appropriate for him. It's really uncomfortable for someone to do that, though. And in truth, it's really frowned on by the APA. You could actually get in a lot of trouble from the American Psychiatric Association versus the American Psychological Association. However, doctors do it all the time, don't they? They go on to Fox or CNN or MSNBC and they talk about somebody is antisocial or whatever. And as long as it's somebody you don't like, then it's okay if they do it. But if it's someone that, you do like, then you're like, this is an outrage. You can't make a diagnosis. Look, the reality is this. You can't make a legal diagnosis without a proper exploration investigation, which would include multiple data points. You've got to not only meet with the person, do a clinical interview, mental status exam. And yes, that mine would include an MMPI. It would include an IQ score. I would look at the difference between verbal IQ and other general IQ. There's a lot of things that I would look at because there's a lot of subtle things, right? That we can look at video and we can watch and say, wow, that behavior looks like it could be XYZ. But until you actually get in there and start asking the differential diagnosis questions, exploring other reasons for that same behavior, you can't know. So when I was in my PhD program, when I was taking all of my abnormal psych classes, I think we had 6. Did we have 6 or 8? Maybe we had 8. I think we had 2 years of abnormal psych. And in those classes, we would diagnose a lot of people. We diagnosed, I didn't diagnose Cinderella. I diagnosed Snow White. So everybody in the class got a cartoon character or a movie character, and we looked at their behavior in the movies, right, and used that to meet the diagnostic criteria. We had a great time sitting around diagnosing our family members or each other. That was a hoot, was diagnosing all of our other classmates. Was it real? Oh, of course not. It wasn't real, not by a long shot. But the process of learning to recognize these subtle variations in behavior, the primary motivations for each of these diagnostic categories. So yeah, but sure, the MMPI-2 you would use if you were dealing with a situation that was very complicated and there was a lot of clinical symptoms along with the personality issues, then MMPI becomes really valuable there, that it helps you sort of see the difference, like how much of this apparent personality disorder is actually psychosis that is exaggerating some of the personality stuff. How much of it is stress that is interfering with their reality testing. So some situations are very straightforward, very simple. You go down that rubric and then you're done. Other situations, though, is very complicated. For example, what about if you have substance use? If you have substance use, then you really can't start diagnosing personality disorders or mental illness until you get off the drugs, because you don't know how much of this is actual just organic brain function compared to the drugs that are affecting brain function. So situations are different. They call for different things. A lot of people have given up trying to use a lot of testing instruments because they're expensive. But if you're in one of those clinical settings, you're doing a lot of testing. If you have to go to court, if it's a court case, you're going to do the testing, because if I'm going to get up on the witness stand, I'm going to be able to have objective reasons for what I'm saying, right? I'm going to be able to say the reason that I think this person is doing this is because it's associated with these characteristics. Jasmine just goes home with a guy she just met without even knowing his name. For shame, Jasmine. Aladdin could have been a creeper. Look, Jasmine was an oh-ho. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. All right. Oh, do you do testing? Very cool, Kelly. Yeah, very nice. I did testing for 2 or 3 years. The last 2 or 3 years of my PhD program, I started working for a psychologist doing all of his testing. I got so much experience doing that. I was so glad that I did it. I made a little teeny bit of money, but it was really, it has benefited me tenfold in working with people, because I became so familiar with the different instruments and what a certain array of results would suggest. Like, what does it actually look like on a whisk when somebody has got high functioning autism? So, and then there's extra instruments that you can add. Like, if you're going to if you believe someone has autism, high functioning autism, you should always do a test of nonverbal intelligence to compare that score up against their general intelligence or verbal intelligence. See how big the discrepancy is. You'd be surprised at how it is to do an IQ test on someone. I love testing people. Yeah. I love the neuropsych tests that are used. I love when you get in there and you're starting looking at all the different types of memory where the actual damage is happening. But those are really time intensive, right? They're really time intensive, but they're fun. And the whisk and the waist, those are fun. They're fun to administer. It's interesting to watch people kind of work through it. Do you do autism testing, Kelly? Like, do you do an ADOS or anything like that? ADOS is so fascinating. Cognizant, Yeah, ADOS is so cool. Yeah, I like that. I don't get to do much testing anymore, but I sure loved it when I was doing a lot of it. Last couple of years, I do a lot of private practice. And then I have a couple of days a week that I work at the hospital. So do the waste, Wisconsin, the rat. Yeah. Yeah, waste or whisk. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. And I appreciate you guys being here. And I'm sure Corey's probably back, her trial is moving right along. And I hope that all of you have a great day. Do y'all have any requests for videos? Like, what would you like to see next? Thank you, Prime Time. I appreciate you being here. I hope you got some work done. Can autistic children remember when they were 1 or 2? My grandson was talking to me about my daughter being pregnant, and she got pregnant when he was 6 months old. Look, I've seen little kids that were 3 or 6 months old name the presidents, like out of a book. I'd never underestimate what a 1 or 2-year-old kid knows. Yeah, I think they have memory, sure. Traditionally, though, we do expect that those early memories are going to be sensory memories more than narrative types of semantic type memories. However, there are some people that are quite precocious and high IQ, and they start talking when they're 3 or 4 months old or 6 months. So, yeah, maybe I wouldn't be like blown away and shocked to find that was true. It would be fun if you did some Rorschach images here on screen and let us tell you what we see. Look, Rorschach is so because I've worked with like a ton of kids, I do very much like projective testing. I do. It's enjoyable. It's creative. And there's only been a few times where it was ominous, right? Only a few times. I think projective testing with adults is much more difficult because those people that want to hide things about themselves, they're very aware and manipulative. So if you're going to do projective testing, you got to be really good at it. So the Rorschach is also incredibly time intensive, like incredible, not just to administer it, but then to go back through and score it and interpret it. It's just, it's like you're doing a dissertation all over again. So I just prefer to go ahead with the objective testing, the standardized type objective testing, and kind of go off of that. Yep. All right. So if you have any suggestions for what you want me to talk about, I don't know if we want to do the Rorschach or not. Sure, Rorschach is interesting, but you also have there is an ethical responsibility, ethical mandate in the APA Code of Ethics that not only do you have to behave in an ethical, responsible way when you're providing therapy, when you're doing education, but you also have to do it when you're testing. So you can't share testing articles, or you can't talk about like actual items on a test and then give the answer. You can't coach people how to make a higher IQ score. You can't do any of that. So what type of person would abduct Nancy Guthrie? Oh, that is such a good one. I'll do that one. What? Okay, so we're talking about a profile for Nancy Guthrie kidnapper. I can tell you right now, I'll go ahead and do a good one. But I can tell you right now, everything points toward someone she knows. It was someone she knows. And I can't help but shake the feeling when I watch the kidnapper on the front porch. He or she, they seem non-goal. Their movements are non-goal related. It's very, they just seem like they're going through the motions, putting on an act. Seems performative to me. But I'll do the profile. That'll be fun. I'll enjoy that. I would say a disgruntled family member that had money troubles. Maybe Diane. I still think the Dale and Dee Warner case would be interesting. Dale and Dee Warner. Okay, I got that one. Trial ended last week. All right, I did that one. Okay. I think he is a Ted Bundy wannabe. So you're you're kind of thinking sorry about that. So you're thinking maybe it's like another Brian Koberger situation where she was targeted by a nut. Is that what you're thinking? You know what the problem is? The problem is, why move her out of the house? I can't get anywhere with that. And everybody I've listened to, nobody can deal with that in a way that feels satisfying. Why did he have to move her from the house? Why? Why did she have to leave the house? What is very odd as well about that Warner case is that the ex's switcheroo spouses. Ooh, really? Now I'm intrigued. Thank you, Mystic. That sounds very interesting. Feels very manipulative. Okay. I know what I'm going to be watching tonight. He had plans for her, too gruesome to mention. So your thought, Crime Time, is that this was a true psychopath nightmare. Like it wasn't. She didn't get hurt. She didn't go missing for secondary reasons. That the primary reason was get Nancy, and she is ultimately going to face her doom. Right? Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll give that. Maybe I hadn't even thought of that. Let me if that's true though, why here's the problem with that. Maybe on the surface, I got to think some more about it. But why would he leave the house with her? Isn't it dangerous? It's risky to leave the house with the 80-year-old woman in the middle of the night, right? She can't walk very well. She's going to be hard to get where you want her to go. You run the risk that somebody's going to see you. If the whole goal was sadistic delight, Wouldn't you just do it there in the house where nobody was there and nobody could see that you were in the house? Well, I'm going to think about that. I need to give that some thought. I lean more towards they didn't intend for her to be injured. That's not. I'm more like it was accidental. And the other part was that the kidnapping is just the cover up. That she was harmed accidentally. She wasn't supposed to die. But when she did die, then it was like, oh my gosh, how do we avoid getting in trouble? That's what I've leaned toward the whole time. I've even figured out the equipment that he used. Yeah, his backpack was filled, right? Like he had a kill kit. So that is also a very confusing part of the story. They wanted to find something in the house. Look, I also think it's very hard to ignore the fact that Savannah had interviewed Epstein survivors, that her husband was wrapped up with the whole Epstein thing and the Clintons. This doesn't look to be just simple opportunistic crime. There's a lot of really worrisome history with the group. I don't know. It's getting, I don't know if she had a safe. Maybe it was tools. I don't know. The thing in his pocket is a camera detector. It's an RF signal detector. But why show up with an RF signal detector and you don't show up with a little can of spray to obliterate the camera? Right? I don't know. We will think about that and talk about that again. I'm going to return. I will do another video, and I hope that you guys have an excellent Monday afternoon. All right. And thank you so much for hanging out here with me and talking about Courtney Clenney. And we are looking forward to her trial, which will be in April. And we'll move forward from here. All right. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate you being here. Please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button. Share on all your social media. And I will return. See you later. Bye.
Woke up at dawn with the pelicans in flight. Coffee brewing strong by dawn's early light. Waves whisper secrets to my open heart. The life around this water gets me off to a great start. Parrots wild, squawking loud in the old palm tree. Dolphin smiles, brighter than the Texas sun on me. We chase simple dreams, nothing fancy or grand, just honest days in this promised land. God gives rainbow horizons to those in this happy lane. Diamonds dancing on the waves, back sparkling again. Honest living, a pursuit of peace, family ties and the happiness we seek. Love, forgotten country running deep in our veins. Through the storms and the trials we break those chains. Good living. this home